Hey, what's up? It's after dinner. Just finished some food, and so far it's been about just over 2 days. By about almost 2 hours and 2 days since I last um, regulated this watch, and I think the results have been pretty positive. If you watch the video, it looks like I basically trimmed down about 4 seconds, more or less. So it was running about 8, and with 4 seconds off, it's actually running about 4 seconds, plus 4 seconds a day, that is. So that translated pretty good. And I did say I was going to be pretty happy if I, um, landed within +3 or +4. It looks like it's getting a pretty solid +4, maybe +3.8, but basically +4 seconds per day, which is actually very respectable, and I could be happy with that. But I think I might have another go at it and see if I can trim it down just a bit tighter and get it to +2 or even +3. I know 1 second, but maybe dead on 0 or +1. I don't know. But if the readings, when I put this back on the time grapher, are the same as I left it, who knows? It could change up for some reason between now and then, right? We'll see. But if it was basically dial side up and dial side down with the movement up, they both were basically reading about the same, if I recall. About it was holding roughly around 0 seconds per day, and sometimes it jump up to +1. So yeah, so I figure if I can dial it just a tad, just so that at most I think maybe -1, and if it hovers between -1 and 0, I could be okay with that. And I believe that'll probably get this right in that sweet zone of like super sweet zone, I guess, of just around +2 seconds max. That's what I'm hoping for. If I can even get down to 3, I think I could be really good with that, because again, my general tolerances for watches, before I feel a need to reset them, is a total deviation from set synchronization to whenever. It would be about roughly 30 seconds off. I can go with a little bit more than that, but generally it's an even number, 30 seconds. So that in mind, with as it's running now, 4 seconds, how long would it take to get to about 30 seconds off? I'd say roughly 8 days, right? 8 times 4 seconds, it's going to be about 32 seconds. So, which is not bad. I would like something that at least allows me to keep this on without fiddling with the, resyncing it, and just over a week. And 8 days would probably do that just fine. But I think if I can squeeze it down to +3 or even +2, that basically means I could maybe extend the period up to 10 days, an extra 2 days. And if it gets nice to maybe no more than +2 even, right? Just 2, that'd give me actually almost 15 days, right? 2 times 15 would be 30 seconds off. And so, wow, just over 2 weeks for a 30-second deviation, that'd be awesome. And I believe most of my other watches are basically doing that, if not better. So, yeah, let's hope that that works out and I don't actually somehow overshoot the mark and I start deviating into the negative, and which would kind of suck, because I don't like, as I mentioned before, having a loss of time. But if the loss of time is like -1 or less, where it basically means I could reset the watch in, over 2 weeks, that would be fine too, because, if I have a longer period between needing to reset it, that would be just easier and just better, because by that time I probably have switched out to another watch anyway. So from the whole time, basically hasn't really deviated barely anything, right? So anyways, we'll see. I'm gonna get back down after I clean up here all this mess, and gonna get into it and see how I can dial it down to trim it down to about 1 or 2 seconds and see how it goes. Okay, so interesting here. Just doing an initial reading just to see where it compares from where I last left. So I let this settle in. It's been about almost 10 minutes. So it was showing a little higher, but then it was kind of leveling out at +3 or +4. I turned it to the dial side up, and I just flipped it back. I'm just waiting for a moment. So let's see. +4. So this is kind of where it's actually at. I am getting about +4 over the last 2 days, pretty solid, consistent between +3 and +4. So that's basically right, at least according to this position. And which is interesting because if you recall, you look back at when I last left it, this was 0 or +1 or so, right? So it's gone up a couple of seconds. That's fine, but according to this is reflecting basically what I'm getting between +3, +4, depending on what I'm doing and what time of day it is. I guess it may vary on how much movement and my hand positions are at. It tends to chill out, I guess, when I'm sleeping, but when I'm working, more active, it speeds up a little bit, but not a hell of a lot. But overall, the average is still pretty close to +4, if not like high threes, like 3.8 or so. So that's about right. And I just flipped it back over, so it's showing me the same thing. So twice. So I'm going to show you what it looks like dial side up. And it's kind of interesting because I think the readings are just a little bit different. I guess it is matched because if I recall, the readings dial side up are just a little bit lower than dial side down or movement up. So if that's right, this should show between, I think, between +2, +3 on here, if not +1 and +2. Let me see where it's going to settle in at. Just give me a couple of seconds here. And when I last left it on this side, it was primarily zeroed out, actually. It would jump up to +1 occasionally, but mostly zero. So this side also basically gained. See, the other side is showing about 3 or 4. No, it's 0 +1. So yeah, it's reading gained about at least 2 to 3 seconds, right? On the other side, dial side down or movement up. And here it's kind of about the same. So I'm thinking if I want to get this honed in, I think no more than, I'll try to knock it down no more than 2 seconds. So if that's the case, I'm hoping that this will, at least initially, maybe once I wear it and I put it back on a time grapher just to check in a couple of days, but just to confirm how it's reading and share the results. But for now, when I adjust this, I think this should show, ideally this should show 0 and -1 on the side. So that's what we're going to try to go for. But on this side, well, since I'm working on it, if it is holding at a +3 or +4, I want it to dial it down to 2. Then I believe this should show me no more than +4, yeah, +1 or +2 instead of +4 and +3. If I can get it down just a bit, I think that might be good. About 2 seconds. So that's what I'm going to try to do. I'm going to get in there, mess with that screw. You can see where it's at right now. It's pretty much like horizontal with that center marking, right? There's 5 of them center, and then 2 up to the negative and another 2 down. The last time, just to recap, it was actually closer to the second to the last one in the positive direction. So I did manage to creep it up to basically, maybe I can zoom in, centered with in the middle. So I think I'm going to go negative again, but we'll see. I'm going to do it slowly and see if I even need to go up to the next line. I may fall somewhere. I might not need to do too much, and it'll fall somewhere in the middle. I'll show it to you once I get to it. But yeah, see, so it's about +3, plus, sometimes it jumps to +4. I am going to see, I'm going with a lower number. You see, it goes down to +2 here. There's too far. Don't want to overshoot it. Just give me a second. Let me see what the readings are. Holding it more towards +3. I think if I can get this down to, gosh, showing me +2 now. +3, +2, +3. I'm not really getting that many 4s. Let me just see whatever this changes next to. That reading, it should reflect, right? If this drops down to 2 again, or does it bounce back up to 4? 2. The amplitude is pretty good though, huh? 324. No beta. I'm guessing. Let me flip it around one more time. If this is going to hold there, then I want to get it down to 0 to +1 at most. So I'll flip it back. Let's see what this shows me. I think on this side it was showing me 2 and 3. So if it is slightly lower than the other position, I think it should be showing me more like 1 and 2. Sorry, tipping the camera. Zeroed out. See, these are the things you just gotta have to, based on your experience and a little bit of gut feeling on how much to try and adjust it towards without going overboard. But I think it's safe to say if I can make sure that this doesn't go lower than -1 when it's dial side up, movement side down like this, I think that's still going to be was where I was imagining I should be, to just trim off about 2 seconds. So between 0 and -1. Let me just see what this jumps back to. Does it go back up to 0? +2. Alright, well, hell, I think I'm going to just still go for trimming 2. So let me just see one last time readings on this side before I start messing with it. +3. I believe it's mostly going to hold around +3. I want to make sure I get a good idea of what the averaging is, so then when I make the adjustment, at least I know that if it's where it should ideally drop. I'm thinking still +3, -2, +1, +1, +2, between 0 and plus, I think between 0 and +1 on this side. Gosh, I hope I don't overshoot it. No, I should leave well enough alone, right? +4 is, or 3 seconds, probably closer to +4. It's definitely respectable. But I'm gonna get greedy and go for go for it all. I want this thing running super nice. It's actually, this is pretty nice, but +2, +3 now. So yeah, I think if we're going with that, it's not really going into the 4s. I think get it no lower than 0 and +1 on this side up. That's what I'm going to go for, and we'll see how it reflects on the other side when I flip it back around. Okay, I'm going to go for it. I'll come back and show you what happens. Okay, so I made an adjustment, and I'll show you what I'm getting. My target was basically between 0 and +1, movement side up, right, dial side down. And I already been waiting to see where it's at. I flipped it around to check, and I just flipped it back up to check again, just to see if there's any variances, or see if those readings are still consistently holding. And so it's pretty good. So we got good amplitude. I'm hitting 0s and +1s, no beat error. See, it went back down to 0. +1. I'm just going to do one more round through here. Then I'm going to flip it over and I'll show it to you. Oh, it did jump up to +2 a little bit here. +1. So yeah, I just want to get one more. Sorry, this generally looks boring, but if you want to see how I'm doing this, it may be of interest to you. +1 still. So I want to keep it no more than +1, if not 0. If it jumps up to +2 again, I may go in and tweak it, but look, zeroed out. Let's see how this holds. I think for the most part, what I've been getting, even before I started recording this, I had been kind of looking at this and reading it. It had been holding pretty good at 0 and +1. I rarely got any +2s earlier, if any, except before I started recording again. So let's see here. I'll jump back up to +1. If it holds, if it doesn't go up to 2 again, if anything, it zeroes out, I think we're going to be good on this side. 0, 0, and it's 1. That's fine. This measuring in, I think, 12-second intervals. I think that's what is a good setting to get a good average to judge this. Okay, so that's good. I think we're good here. So let's turn this thing back around. Just have a reading on the back. And this one, I wanted to, my goal was between 0 and -1. -2, but it did show me that for a moment, but it was the last time I flipped it this way, which was just before recording. Again, yeah, see, it was holding up -1 and 0. And I think that'd be okay. 0. Okay. I think it's kind of stabilizing now in this position. Just to get a bit more constant reading. Again, these are just baselines I could go off of. Obviously, once I get on wrist, it'll be maybe a different case, right? And what I measure, but we'll see. 0. Let's just kind of let this run through one more time. 0. And the amplitude is even higher. It's pretty good. I mean, these would be really awesome readings for any watch, right? +1, see? Kind of jumped up there a little bit. I'm trying to avoid having to go up there. But it could be like the other side with the other side down with the movement up. You know how it showed like a +2 for a moment. And maybe that's kind of the same thing that's going on here. It'll may once in a while get that extra higher jump to outside of the 0 -1. All of a sudden it'll go up like 2, you know, have a larger spread between -1 and +1, right? Just as on the other side it was holding between 0 and +1. Sometimes it will go up to +2, but rarely. Mostly like this, it's either zeroed out or it'll dip. -1. This is, I think this is basically where I want to try to be at. And if my guesstimations are right, that's kind of weird how I got an outline around my finger. If my estimations are right on how this might perform when I get this back on, closed up and back on wrist, run it again for another 2 days, this should basically have trimmed down about 2 seconds. If that's the case, I should be getting no more than hopefully +2 seconds a day, which would be, I think, really good, because then that means if it does hold that, then basically for my tolerances of 30-second deviation, I should be able to go over 2 weeks without having to mess with it to reset it. About 15 days, right? 2 times 15 is 30 seconds. So this is looking good. 0 -1. Let's have it one more go at this. And you hear that noise in the background. Mom's playing MJ in the room. Those tiles. Let's see. -1. Okay, I think that's good. I'm going to flip it back over. We just kind of reconfirm just that side one more time, and now I'll show you how the regulator the screw has been set. Okay, let's turn this back over. So you can see how much I've moved it. And you get a more overhead shot. It isn't that much. You see, it was more in line with that line to the right of the screw, right? The marking. But now you can see it's been rotated just a couple, like 1-2 degrees, something like that. So it's, it's, I don't want to actually hit the movement. Let me back up a little bit. But, it's angled up this way more, right? So that's basically all it took to make these fine adjustments. And let's see what we're getting here. I think I wanted to get between 0 and +1 on this side. And the blue went up slightly too. That's cool. That's one. It's going to hold. If it goes to +2 again, I would be tempted to just make a slight tweak to that screw just to make sure it doesn't go up again. But we'll see. I really hope I have it honed in this time because, you know, I really want to try to avoid opening the case back too many times. There we go. Went to 0. So it holds between 0 and +1 mostly. Like, should be good. Zero, 0. Oh, okay. Let's see if it goes back up. It's going to hold at 0. I think this might be good. If it's holding at 0, I think I've done more than enough. Hopefully not too much. It's really gone through basically 2, I guess, cycles, whatever you want to call it, holding on 0. But you can see the line has crept up ever so slightly. Oh, see, +2. But it should drop back down to either 0 or +1 again. You know, sometimes they get those odd stray, you know, sudden little spikes in the reading. Okay, +1. Still on +1. +2 again. This is making me wonder if this, I need to tweak it just a little bit more. Okay, let me mess around with this and I will get back to you and let you know what happens. Okay, one last check. Got the case back on. Just putting it on time graphers to see dial side up. Even though it was the other position, the microphone should still be reading it the same. But this is kind of where I wanted to be at, -1 and 0. And it seems to be holding there with dial side up. Remember, I had on this side, I had the movement up before, but and that should show a different reading. But this is basically what I was kind of shooting for, between 0 and -1 with dial side up. And hopefully that translates to, once I resync it and check it out and wear in practice, you know, it'll be about hopefully no more than +2 seconds. Maybe +3, I can live with that too, but I set that about 4. But since I'm tweaking it, I'm hoping that maybe I did it even tighter, and with any luck, with what I've done, I'm actually going to get maybe closer to +2 seconds. So this is kind of curious if we can verify if movement side is up, downside down, which, basically this is the reverse of what I had when the case back was off. This still should show me between 0 and +1. It may spike to +2 once in a while, but for the most part, where I last left it, it should be showing 0 and +1 primarily. Let's see, zeroed out. You can tell it had a slight drop, but that's pretty negligible. Let's see. Yeah, is it going to drop? It's going to hold. If anything, we want this to rise slightly, but it looks like it's actually dropping. Because you can see in its relationship to the previous line, it is a little bit lower, isn't it? Let's see. It could still work out. Hopefully, it's kind of weird. The other side up was reading the way it should, but this one, it's mostly zeroed. If anything, it should go +1. But look, it is actually, it's in line with the previous line before now, so it's actually gone back up slightly. Let's see what it shows over on this side. It's gone slightly down. Well, it's pretty much in line, huh? It's holding a pretty consistent 0, huh? Anyways. Stairs. It kind of gained a little, right? Because it's slightly higher than the previous line. Okay, well, I am going to put the bracelet back on and reset, resync the watch and make a note of it and start a new set of recordings and see how it does. And I shall report back and just to show you with what I'm actually getting after this, I guess my second attempt at adjusting in the watch. Thanks for watching. Catch you in the next.